Granite is not an easy material to work with. Unlike softer stones such as limestone or sandstone, granite contains hard mineral crystals, including quartz, which ranks high on the hardness scale used by geologists. Modern workshops often. For thousands of years, the pyramids of Egypt have dominated the imagination of historians, engineers, archaeologists, and travelers. Standing beneath these colossal monuments, one question continues to echo through time. How did the ancient Egyptians shape and work with some of the hardest stones on Earth? Granite, a material so tough that even modern builders required specialized tools to cut and polish it efficiently, appears throughout ancient Egyptian architecture and artifacts. Massive granite blocks, weighing dozens of tons, were transported across long distances. Giant statues were carved with remarkable precision. Sarcophagi were shaped with smooth surfaces and sharp internal angles. Obelisks rose high above temple complexes, carved from single pieces of stone. For generations, researchers have attempted to explain exactly how this was accomplished using the tools known to exist in ancient Egypt. Yet despite decades of study, debate continues. Recently, a surprising twist emerged from an unexpected source. When people began asking Grok AI about the mystery of Egyptian granite working, some of its responses sparked fresh discussion across the internet. What made the situation especially interesting was not that an artificial intelligence claimed to have solved the mystery, but that some of its observations echoed questions that experts themselves have debated for years. Suddenly, a topic that had fascinated researchers for centuries found itself at the center of a modern technological conversation. Rely on diamond-tipped tools, industrial saws, and advanced machinery to shape granite efficiently. This reality has led many observers to wonder how a civilization that flourished thousands of years ago could produce objects displaying such impressive craftsmanship. The ancient Egyptians did not possess electric drills, powered cutting machines, or steel tools comparable to modern industrial equipment. Yet archaeological sites throughout Egypt contain undeniable evidence of sophisticated granite working. Visitors to museums can observe statues with smooth contours and intricate details. Massive sarcophagi reveal carefully crafted interiors. Ancient quarries preserve clues about extraction methods. These physical remains demonstrate that whatever techniques the Egyptians employed, they were capable of achieving extraordinary results. The mystery becomes even more intriguing when examining some of Egypt's most famous monuments. The Great Pyramid at Giza is often associated primarily with limestone, but granite played an important role in its construction. Granite blocks were used in key internal chambers, including the King's Chamber. These blocks were transported from Aswan, hundreds of kilometers away. Moving such enormous stones across vast distances was itself an engineering achievement. Once delivered, the blocks had to be shaped and fitted into place. Similar questions arise when studying temples, obelisks, and monumental sculptures. The sheer scale of these projects suggests not isolated acts of craftsmanship, but organized systems capable of producing granite components repeatedly and reliably over long periods. Traditional archaeological explanations focus on tools and techniques that were available during ancient Egyptian times. Copper tools are frequently mentioned because copper artifacts have been discovered in archaeological contexts. However, copper alone is softer than granite, leading researchers to propose that abrasive materials played a crucial role. Sand-rich and quartz particles may have been used alongside copper saws and drills. In this interpretation, the copper acted primarily as a carrier for the abrasive particles, while the sand itself performed much of the cutting. Experimental archaeologists have conducted tests demonstrating that stone can indeed be cut using such methods, although the process requires significant labor and time. These experiments provide evidence that at least some granite shaping could have been achieved through persistence, manpower, and carefully applied abrasives. Ancient quarry sites offer additional clues. At Aswan, where much of Egypt's granite originated, researchers have identified marks that appear consistent with the use of stone-pounding tools. Dolerite, an extremely hard rock, may have been employed to pound and fracture granite surfaces. Archaeologists have discovered numerous dolerite hammerstones in quarry areas, supporting this interpretation. According to this view, workers repeatedly struck granite surfaces, gradually removing material until desired shapes emerged. Though slow and labor-intensive, such techniques could explain certain stages of the stoneworking process. The unfinished obelisk at Aswan provides particularly valuable evidence because it remains attached to the bedrock, offering a snapshot of quarrying activities that were never completed. Despite these explanations, some questions remain controversial. Critics argue that certain artifacts appear exceptionally precise. They point to smooth surfaces, symmetrical forms, and features that seem difficult to produce using simple tools alone. Measurements taken from some ancient objects have fueled ongoing debates regarding manufacturing accuracy. While mainstream archaeologists generally maintain that known techniques are sufficient to explain the evidence, alternative theories continue to attract public attention. These theories range from lost technologies to external influences, though most lack direct archaeological support. The persistence of such discussions demonstrates how strongly the mystery captures public imagination. This is where artificial intelligence entered the story. As AI systems became increasingly accessible, users began posing historical questions to them, including the long-standing puzzle of Egyptian granite working. Grok AI, developed during the rapid expansion of large language models, generated responses based on patterns found across enormous collections of information. When asked about ancient Egyptian stone-cutting methods, it often summarized archaeological theories while also highlighting unresolved questions and areas of debate. Some readers interpreted these responses as unusually open-minded compared to simplified explanations commonly found online. Others believed the AI was merely reflecting the diversity of opinions already present within historical discussions. Regardless of interpretation, the responses attracted attention because they appeared to acknowledge both established evidence and lingering uncertainties. One aspect that surprised many observers was the AI's emphasis on the distinction between what is known and what remains uncertain. Rather than presenting a single definitive answer, some responses explored multiple possibilities. They referenced copper tools, abrasive sands, dolerite pounding stones, quarry evidence, transportation methods, and experimental archaeology. At the same time, they noted that researchers continue studying exactly how certain levels of precision were achieved. This balanced presentation resonated with people who felt that historical mysteries are often oversimplified. In reality, archaeology frequently involves interpreting incomplete evidence. New discoveries can refine existing theories, and scholars sometimes disagree about specific details while sharing broader conclusions. The public reaction revealed something fascinating about the relationship between technology and historical inquiry. Many individuals assumed that artificial intelligence would either confirm mainstream explanations without question or generate sensational claims unsupported by evidence. Instead, the discussion highlighted how complex historical investigations actually are. Ancient Egypt is one of the most extensively studied civilizations in human history, yet many practical details of daily life, construction techniques, and craftsmanship remain subjects of ongoing research. AI systems do not excavate artifacts or conduct laboratory analyses, but they can summarize vast amounts of existing information and expose users to perspectives they may not have encountered previously. In this case, the conversation encouraged many people to explore archaeological evidence more deeply. Another reason the topic gained momentum is that granite working sits at the intersection of multiple disciplines. Archaeology provides physical evidence. Geology helps researchers understand the properties of stone. Engineering offers insight into construction methods. Experimental archaeology attempts to recreate ancient processes. Each field contributes pieces of the puzzle. When observers focus exclusively on one type of evidence, they may overlook important context provided by another discipline. Understanding how ancient Egyptians shaped granite requires considering not only tools, but also labor organization, resource availability, transportation systems, cultural priorities, and accumulated craftsmanship passed down through generations. Historical context is especially important. Ancient Egyptian civilization existed for thousands of years. Technologies and methods evolved over time. Skills developed through centuries of experience. Master craftsmen trained apprentices who carried knowledge into future generations. Large construction projects were not completed overnight, but often involved extensive planning and coordinated labor. Modern observers sometimes underestimate what can be accomplished through persistence, specialization, and collective effort when applied consistently across centuries. The achievements visible today represent the culmination of a long tradition of experimentation and refinement. At the same time, genuine mysteries should not be dismissed simply because conventional explanations exist. Science advances by asking questions and testing assumptions. Researchers continue examining tool marks, conducting experiments, analyzing ancient artifacts, and investigating quarry remains. New technologies such as high-resolution scanning and microscopic analysis allow scholars to study surfaces in greater detail than ever before. These methods may provide fresh insights into how ancient craftsmen worked stone. Future discoveries could strengthen existing theories, modify them, or reveal previously unrecognized techniques. The search for answers remains active. What ultimately made Grok AI's responses noteworthy was not that they delivered a revolutionary solution, but that they reminded people how much there is still to learn. The ancient Egyptians left behind monuments that continue to inspire awe after thousands of years. Their ability to quarry, transport, shape, and assemble granite on a monumental scale stands among humanity's greatest engineering achievements. Whether examined through the lens of archaeology, engineering, or artificial intelligence, the question remains deeply compelling. Every granite block, every statue, and every unfinished quarry surface tells part of a story that researchers are still piecing together today. As new evidence emerges and technology advances, the mystery continues to evolve. And perhaps that is what keeps the fascination alive. The stones themselves remain silent, but they continue challenging each generation to understand how one of history's greatest civilizations transformed raw granite into monuments that have endured for millennia. As interest in the mystery continued growing, attention increasingly shifted from the finished monuments themselves to the tiny details left behind during their creation. Archaeologists have long understood that some of the most valuable evidence is not found in grand temples or famous pyramids, but in the subtle traces of manufacturing preserved on stone surfaces. Tool marks, quarry scars, unfinished artifacts, and abandoned construction projects can reveal far more about ancient techniques than completed monuments. When researchers study these clues closely, they gain insight into the actual processes used by workers thousands of years ago. This approach has transformed the investigation of Egyptian granite, working from a purely theoretical debate into an evidence-based scientific inquiry. Yet the more carefully experts examine the evidence, the more fascinating the story becomes. One of the most important locations in this investigation is the granite quarry region near Aswan in southern Egypt. This area supplied enormous quantities of granite for royal construction projects over many centuries. The landscape still preserves traces of ancient quarrying activity, including partially extracted blocks, work areas, and the famous unfinished obelisk. Had this colossal monument been completed, it would have become one of the largest obelisks ever erected in ancient Egypt. Instead, a crack formed in the stone during production, causing workers to abandon the project. The result is a remarkable archaeological treasure. Because the obelisk was never removed, researchers can observe features that would normally disappear during later stages of construction. These details provide direct evidence of quarrying methods used by ancient craftsmen. The unfinished obelisk reveals long channels cut around the stone to separate it from surrounding bedrock. Nearby, archaeologists discovered numerous dolerite pounding stones. These heavy tools show signs of extensive use and are considered key pieces of evidence supporting traditional explanations of granite extraction. Workers may have repeatedly struck the granite surface with dolerite balls and hammers, gradually creating trenches around the intended monument. This process would have required extraordinary patience and coordination. Unlike modern machinery capable of removing large quantities of stone rapidly, ancient workers relied on repeated impacts applied over extended periods. The sheer scale of the labor involved demonstrates the organizational capabilities of Egyptian society. Experiments conducted by modern researchers have attempted to recreate these techniques. By using replicas of ancient tools and materials, experimental archaeologists can estimate how much effort would have been required to shape granite. Some experiments have shown that dolerite pounding can effectively remove granite material, although progress is relatively slow. Other tests, involving copper saws and quartz sand abrasives, have demonstrated that stone can be cut and drilled without modern technology. These results are significant because they provide practical evidence that ancient methods were physically capable of producing at least many of the features observed in Egyptian artifacts. However, the experiments also highlight the enormous amount of labor that would have been necessary. This realization often surprises modern audiences accustomed to mechanized manufacturing. Another area of investigation involves ancient Egyptian stone vessels. Many of these objects display remarkable craftsmanship. Some feature narrow necks, symmetrical shapes, and smooth interiors carved from hard stone. Researchers have studied these artifacts extensively because they offer clues about precision manufacturing techniques. In some cases, microscopic examination reveals patterns that may indicate rotational drilling or grinding processes. Such findings have generated lively academic discussions. While mainstream scholars generally interpret the evidence within known technological frameworks, questions remain regarding the exact tools and procedures employed. The existence of these finely crafted objects demonstrates that Egyptian artisans possessed a sophisticated understanding of materials and production methods. Granite sarcophagi provide another important source of evidence. Several examples exhibit flat surfaces, carefully shaped interiors, and sharp corners that continue to attract attention. Visitors often assume these features must have required advanced machinery, but specialists emphasize that appearances can be misleading. Precision does not necessarily imply modern technology. Skilled artisans working with simple tools can achieve impressive results when sufficient time and expertise are available. Nevertheless, the challenge lies in determining precisely how such results were accomplished. Researchers analyze surface textures, tool marks, and manufacturing traces in an effort to reconstruct the sequence of operations used during production. One factor frequently overlooked in public discussions is the role of human specialization. Ancient Egypt was not a society of isolated workers improvising construction techniques from scratch. It was a highly organized civilization with administrative systems, professional craftsmen, and accumulated technical knowledge. Large projects often involved teams dedicated to specific tasks. Quarry workers extracted stone. Transport crews moved materials. Sculptors refined surfaces. Supervisors coordinated activities. Knowledge passed from one generation to the next, allowing techniques to improve over time. When viewed within this broader context, achievements that initially appear impossible become more understandable. The workforce behind major monuments likely included individuals whose entire careers focused on mastering particular aspects of stoneworking. Transportation itself remains one of the most remarkable aspects of the story. Granite used in major royal projects often originated hundreds of kilometers from its final destination. Moving blocks, weighing tens of tons, required careful planning and significant resources. Archaeological evidence suggests that river transport played a central role. The Nile functioned as an ancient highway connecting different regions of Egypt. During favorable seasonal conditions, large stones could be loaded onto boats and transported northward. Relief carvings and inscriptions depict the movement of massive statues and monuments, providing visual evidence of these operations. Such scenes illustrate the logistical sophistication necessary to support large-scale construction programs. Modern engineering studies have explored how ancient workers may have moved heavy objects across land. Experiments indicate that sledges pulled over prepared surfaces could significantly reduce friction, especially when water was applied to the ground. This insight gained widespread attention after researchers analyzed ancient artwork showing workers pouring liquid in front of sledges transporting large statues. What once appeared to be a ceremonial action may have had a practical engineering purpose. Discoveries like this demonstrate how interdisciplinary research can shed new light on ancient practices. Small details preserved in artwork can sometimes reveal important technological knowledge. As discussions about Egyptian granite working spread online, artificial intelligence became an increasingly visible participant in the conversation. Users asked AI systems to evaluate competing theories, summarize evidence, and explain apparent contradictions. In many cases, the responses reflected the information available within training materials, drawing upon archaeological publications, historical analyses, and popular discussions. Some readers were impressed by the ability of AI systems to connect information from multiple sources. Others cautioned that AI can occasionally present uncertain information with unwarranted confidence. This concern is especially relevant when discussing historical mysteries, where evidence may be incomplete or interpretations remain debated. The controversy surrounding AI-generated answers highlighted an important issue. Many people assume historical questions should have simple, definitive solutions. In reality, archaeology often operates within degrees of probability rather than absolute certainty. Researchers evaluate available evidence and construct explanations that best fit observed facts. When new discoveries emerge, interpretations may change. Artificial intelligence can summarize existing knowledge, but it does not replace fieldwork, excavation, laboratory analysis, or scholarly debate. Understanding this distinction is essential when evaluating claims about ancient technologies. Some of the strongest reactions occurred when AI systems acknowledged unresolved questions. For certain users, this openness suggested intellectual honesty. For others, it seemed to imply hidden mysteries beyond current understanding. The reality lies somewhere in between. Archaeologists possess substantial evidence regarding Egyptian stoneworking methods, including tools, quarry remains, experimental results, and unfinished projects. At the same time, not every detail is fully understood. Historical reconstruction is rarely complete. Gaps in knowledge are normal, particularly when investigating events that occurred thousands of years ago. Recognizing uncertainty does not invalidate established evidence. Rather, it reflects the ongoing nature of scientific inquiry. Public fascination with Egyptian granite often stems from comparisons with modern technology. People imagine attempting similar projects today and wonder how ancient societies could achieve such results without advanced machinery. Yet this comparison can be misleading. Modern industries prioritize speed, efficiency, and economic cost. Ancient societies operated according to different priorities. Monumental construction frequently served religious, political, and cultural purposes. Projects could span decades and employ vast numbers of workers. Labor-intensive methods that would be considered impractical today may have been entirely feasible within the context of ancient state-sponsored construction programs. The durability of granite contributes significantly to the mystery. Because the stone resists erosion and weathering, many artifacts survive in excellent condition. Modern observers therefore encounter finished objects that still display impressive craftsmanship thousands of years after their creation. This preservation can create the illusion of perfection. Closer examination often reveals variations, corrections, and evidence of manual workmanship. Such details remind researchers that ancient monuments were created by human hands rather than mysterious technologies. The challenge is not proving that humans built them, but understanding exactly how those humans organized resources and applied available tools to accomplish extraordinary goals. Recent technological advances continue providing new opportunities for investigation. Three-dimensional scanning allows researchers to record surfaces with exceptional accuracy. Digital modeling can simulate quarrying and transportation processes. Microscopic analysis reveals traces invisible to the naked eye. These methods enable scholars to examine artifacts in ways that previous generations could not. Each new dataset contributes additional pieces to the puzzle. While no single discovery has solved every question, the overall picture becomes clearer as evidence accumulates from multiple sources. Perhaps the most important lesson emerging from this ongoing investigation is that ancient achievements should neither be underestimated nor exaggerated. The Egyptians were not modern engineers equipped with industrial machinery, but neither were they primitive builders relying solely on trial and error. They possessed extensive practical knowledge developed through centuries of experience. They understood stone, geometry, organization, and large-scale construction. Their accomplishments reflect a combination of skilled labor, administrative coordination, and technological ingenuity adapted to the resources available at the time. The discussion, sparked by Grok AI, ultimately revealed as much about modern society as it did about ancient Egypt. People remained fascinated by mysteries that challenge assumptions about the past. Artificial intelligence introduced a new platform through which these questions could be explored, debated, and shared with wider audiences. Yet the most compelling aspect of the story remains the evidence itself. Granite quarries, unfinished monuments, ancient tools, and surviving artifacts continue speaking across the centuries. They tell the story of a civilization capable of transforming one of the world's hardest stones into symbols of power, faith, and permanence. Whether future research confirms current theories or uncovers unexpected insights, the investigation will continue. Every granite surface still holds clues, and every new discovery brings us one step closer to understanding how the ancient Egyptians achieved feats that continue to inspire wonder in the modern world.